Okay, the next property that we need to talk about is the distributive property. And in the distributive property, this is what's going to help us whenever we look at things that we can't add in parentheses. So, we've looked at things, well, something like this example right here, where we cannot do y minus z. There's just nothing in there that we can take care of without knowing what y is or what z is. So the distributive property gives us another tool to be able to go ahead and multiply as it says we should. The distributive property says that if we have a times b plus c, then we can distribute that multiplication throughout the parentheses. So that would be the same thing as saying a times b, which is what we have here, and then a times a positive c, which would be a positive a times c. So think about the word distributive. It is literally distributing the multiplication. So our first example here says use the distributive property to write each expression without parentheses. Then simplify the result if possible. So we have negative 2 times y minus z. There's nothing in here that we can take care of right now because we don't know what y minus z is. But we can distribute. We can go ahead and do that multiplication throughout the parentheses. So if I look at negative 2 times y, then that would be negative 2y. And if I look at negative 2 times a negative z, that would be a positive 2z. Now we cannot combine these because these are not like terms. So our answer is just negative 2y plus 2z. Let's look at another example. Here we have negative 1/2 times 2r plus 11. Well, again, order of operations says we should do what's inside the parentheses first. But we can't combine these because these are different, they're not like terms. So our next opportunity is to take care of the multiplication, and for that we have to distribute. So we have to do negative 1/2 times 2r. If you're not comfortable with fractions yet, then I highly suggest just moving out to the side and doing that, showing that multiplication. So negative 1/2 times 2r, we could put that over 1 so we see fractions. And now our 2's will cancel, and we have negative 1 times r is negative r. So negative 1/2 times 2r would be negative r. Now we still have to finish our distribution, so negative 1/2 times a positive 11. If you need to come out to the side and do that, we can. There's nothing here that will cancel, so we just have to multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom to get negative 11/2. So negative 1/2 times a positive 11 would be negative 1/2. We can't combine these because they're not like terms, so that's all we can do. In this next example, we have negative and then q minus 2 plus 6r, all in parentheses, plus 2. Well, we can't do anything inside the parentheses because these are not like terms. We can't add and subtract these things. So our next alternative is to do our distribution. And when we're distributing, we're taking that negative, which is the same thing technically as saying negative 1. And we are multiplying it to everything in the parentheses. So negative 1 times a positive q is negative q. Negative 1 times a negative 2 would be positive 2. Negative 1 times a positive 6r would be negative 6r. Now we've taken care of all the parentheses now, but we still have this plus 2 on the outside. Once we look at this now, there are some things that we can combine. In fact, we have like terms. Our plus 2 and plus 2, those are plain numbers that we can combine. So when we combine our like terms, we have negative q, and then plus 2 would be a positive 4, and then minus 6r. Now we cannot combine anything else, so that would be our final answer.